An Assassin's Creed news account wants to remove grifters from gaming, and it is as cringe as what you would expect. Roll this up over at fandompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. I encourage you to head on over there, become a paid subscriber, help us fight back against this woke ideology that is infecting the video game industry and is trying to destroy our culture and society. It costs less than a Starbucks coffee, just $5 a month, and you can subscribe over at fandompulse.com. We are fully reader supported. So this X account underscore L3VI3 wrote this: "Enough. I've watched long enough. I'm not going to let the grifters turn my hobby into nothing. There is no room in the Assassin's Creed community for racism, misogyny, hate, agitation, lies, death threats. Everyone who doesn't stick to it will be blocked. It's time to reclaim gaming." And as we've seen over the past half decade and more, is that anytime you accuse someone of racism, misogyny, hate, etc., you just don't like their opinions and you're trying to malign their character. You're trying to poison the well against them because they have significant disagreements with you and you don't want to actually address those disagreements. You'd rather just attack the person's character with ad hominems, and that's exactly what we are seeing right here, because we know that it is Ubisoft who is guilty of many of these things if we actually look at this at face value and ignore, obviously, the 5-10 years, even more, of kind of the narrative trying to attack people who disagree with the overarching, I guess, zeitgeist would be, or the fake zeitgeist they trying to create through social media manipulation, etc. What is absolutely hilarious, though, is that we have this person here, MMORP, respondent, says, "What if there are people who just don't like the fact that a company refuses to respect a culture and its history, but isn't trying to promote racism, misogyny, hate, etc.?" And this person says, "If you say it in a normal way, it is fine. So if you call out Ubisoft for disrespecting the Japanese culture and history, aka lying, which he says there is no room for, then that's okay. That's okay. You just can't make this stuff up, right? I mean, they literally tell on themselves all of the time. So this is basically a tacit admission that it is Ubisoft who is guilty of all of these things that this guy is accusing what he says the grifters are doing. And we have a laundry list of examples to that point. Probably the biggest is that Ubisoft, the developer of Assassin's Creed Shadows, claims that Yasuke, one of the main protagonists in the game, is a legendary samurai, and they are still using this as marketing material for the game, despite their admission that this might not be the case. And we have numerous examples refuting this claim. Obviously, they associated with Thomas Lockley and his novel, or I guess his book, that promoted this idea, and they were actually working with him to promote the game. He appeared on one of their podcasts earlier in the year. But we also have Japanese historians rebuking this idea. Yuichi Goza informed the Sankai Shimbun earlier, I guess last year now in July, saying there are very few historical records about Yasuke, so it is difficult to say. The history of Yasuke has not been the subject of much research, in part because the history of personalities is not the mainstream of historical studies. In the 15-volume Nobunaga Koki in the collection of the Sonkai Kakubunko, which is one of the biographies of Nobunaga Koki, a chronicle of Nobunaga's life, there is a description of Nobunaga giving Yasuke a sword and a house, indicating that he treated him as a samurai. However, this is something that only appears in this biography among the dozens of manuscripts of the Nobunaga Chronicle, and we cannot deny the possibility that it was added later when the manuscript was transcribed. He continued saying, also, even if he was a samurai, he may have been a formality. For example, in the Edo period, feudal lords who were fond of sumo had their own personal wrestlers. Formerly, they were treated as vassals or samurai and allowed to wear a sword, but even if a war broke out, it was not expected that the feudal lords would allow their retainers to fight on the battlefield. He was then specifically asked about this armor that Ubisoft is depicting Yasuke wearing in the game, and he says the Japanese people around Nobunaga were very surprised by Yasuke's dark skin and seemed to be interested in it. In a sense, it was a show, and having a black man like Yasuke so close to him would attract attention and, in a sense, show off Nobunaga's power. In a sense, Nobunaga could show off his power. Therefore, I believe that the most important purpose was to show off to everyone. In the Jesuit historical records, it is written that Yasuke was powerful and could do a few tricks. I believe that he was in fact Nobunaga's bodyguard and entertainer. He was not the samurai warrior that Westerners imagine him to be, slaying one enemy after another. Even if he did fight, he did not command his men, but worked as a single combatant. So kind of rebuking Ubisoft's marketing materials here, claiming that he was a legendary samurai from a renowned historian, Japanese historian, who specializes in that period in Japanese history. We would also have Ubisoft's executive producer for its Assassin's Creed franchise, Mark Alexis Cote, telling the New York Times that the company is going, quote, beyond what is accepted truth with the game, so admitting that they're lying. He says, we want people to be passionate about history. What does that mean? Stay true to well-documented moments and historical figures, but not shying away from having a critical point of view and defying cliches to go beyond what is the accepted truth, right? So he's basically trying to have his cake and eat it as well in this comment to the New York Times. Furthermore, we had game director Charles Benoit claiming that the game would be used to teach players about the Sengoku era of Japan. This is what he said to Xbox Wire. We're at the end of Sengoku era in a turning point of Japan history. Assassin's Creed is well known for its depiction of the history and accurate recreation of the world, and it's what players can expect with Assassin's Creed Shadows. That has not been the case. Numerous criticisms of the architecture, of how the seasons are, etc., that are not actually accurate to Japan, let alone Japanese history. There's like Chinese architecture over there. We're showing real historical figures such as Oda Nobunaga and a lot of events that happened during that time. So you're not only playing in feudal Japan, but learning about this fantastic time period. So game director Charles Benoit is basically saying that you are learning the historical record through the game. And obviously you've got the executive producer for the Assassin's Creed franchise saying that they're going beyond what is the accepted truth. And then obviously a Japanese historian rebuking their claim that Yasuke is a legendary samurai and their depiction of that in the game. So who's lying? Who is lying? Remember, that's not to be tolerated by this Assassin's Creed news account right here. Lies are not allowed in the game, and it looks like, or not allowed in the community, and it looks like it's Ubisoft is the one pushing those lies, right? Pushing that racism, pushing that hate. Cannot make this stuff up, right? They always are guilty of what they are accusing you of. We see this time and time again. Furthermore, Ubisoft actually apologized also back in July for creating, quote, concern within the Japanese community. They wrote this, despite these sustained efforts, we acknowledge that some elements in our promotional materials have caused concern within the Japanese community. For this, we sincerely apologize. And then in a subsequent post here, they also said the representation of Yasuke in our game is an illustration of this. His unique and mysterious life made him an ideal candidate to tell an Assassin's Creed story with the setting of feudal Japan as a backdrop. While Yasuke is depicted as a samurai in Assassin's Creed Shadows, we acknowledge that this is a matter of debate and discussion. We have woven this carefully into our narrative and with our other lead character, the Japanese shinobi Naue, who is equally important in the game. Our dual protagonists provide players with different gameplay styles. So after they got called out for their numerous lies, they literally admitted that they were lying and issued an apology for it. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up, yet we've got these Assassin's Creed news sites trying to project Ubisoft's lies onto the people calling them out for their lies. Cannot make this stuff up, folks. Seeing this time and time again. And then we really want to get into it. Ubisoft has an entire diversity and inclusion team within its company. This is literally posted on their website. For Ubisoft, putting diversity and inclusion at the heart of everything we do means providing an environment where employees can thrive, building open-minded communities where players can connect, and creating games that reflect the diversity of the world we live in. We will not accomplish all these goals overnight. Just as it takes years of iteration to develop a AAA title, we will only become a more diverse and inclusive company by continuously improving, trying new ideas, and learning from the results. It's a long-term commitment, one that we will tackle with the same passion and dedication that we bring to our games. As we know, all of this stuff is discrimination against people with white skin. That's what it is. That's all what these diverse and inclusive agendas are all about. And Ubisoft is proudly promoting it right here. So you want to talk about racism? Again, it's Ubisoft who is guilty of it. Now, obviously, they use misogyny, but we know that they're also discriminating against men. They have like some whole where you have to be a certain skin color or a certain gender in order to apply to one of their programs. That is well documented as well. That they had I think they've been doing it for like 5 years now. So we'll see what happens with that. But again, that is illegal in the United States. And hopefully, maybe with this new administration, those things will actually be prosecuted and we will see some change to that. But again, getting back to this, all of these accusations are what Ubisoft is doing. And they can't take it. They can't take the truth. They don't want to listen to the truth. They want to accuse you, who are speaking about the truth, of all of these things that the company is doing to them. And this person clearly has fallen for the gaslighting of Ubisoft and has bought in hook, line, and sinker. It's unfortunate for them, but I think it just creates more fuel against Ubisoft when you have someone like this claiming to be an Assassin's Creed news website pushing this absolute disgusting, hateful rhetoric against gamers. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.